Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the AFF Podcast, all for females in affiliate and partner marketing. I am your host, Kristen Evans, and I am so excited this week to have Jessica Robinson, the founder of AMP Marketing, as well as somebody who has a long history in the fintech space. And this conversation honestly couldn't be timed better right now based on what's going on. But Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So you have, again, a long history in affiliate and partner marketing. Tell me a little bit about how you got started because nobody ever does this on purpose. So
No, you don't study it in school, right? Yeah.
how did you trip, fall, and land into affiliate marketing?
It's a roundabout story. So I actually went to school for music and I was working in the music industry for a little bit. And when I realized that I wasn't going to really make any money and my cell phone provider won't accept guest list passes at concerts as, a way to pay my bill, I needed to find a different avenue. So another friend of mine from college was working actually at this call center, got me a job at the call center, worst job of all time, but they had a position open for an affiliate marketing specialist. So I Googled what affiliate marketing was the day before my interview and I landed the job and I've kind of been in this space ever since. And even though it was a really challenging place to work, I found my husband there and I found my career. So I can't really complain about it that much.
Oh, I love that. That is literally the like, yeah, I was born yesterday, but I stayed up all night studying kind of equivalent. But also, like, how funny is this industry that you can kind of Google it and like fake it till you make it? What was the learning process? I mean, obviously, like there's
Yeah.
drinking from a fire hose, but then there's like actually drinking from a fire hose. Tell me about how that onboarding and learning process went for you.
Yeah, so I had a really good mentor at the time. So my manager, who unfortunately recently passed away, but he was in the space for a long time and he basically would just have me join calls. This was like back when you would like have your desk phone, right? And like it wasn't video calls. And he would just have me go on mute and I would listen to the calls and like that's kind of just how I learned how to manage a lot of these conversations. It was a D2C product, and this is like 15 years ago. So the affiliate world looked a lot different than what it looks like now. Yeah. So I learned by, listening to the way that he managed relationships, because at the core of this industry, it's all about relationship management, it's all about partnerships. And so I really learned like a lot about how to handle some of those conversations and how to grow some of those partnerships through listening in on his calls. And then slowly I started taking over with some of the partners. And then when he left the company, I was managing the program on my own. And it was funny, the CTO at that time, I had an office, I had a desk right in front of his office, just like out on that open floor. And he came up and he was like, "You sound like you have like a multiple personality disorder," because the way that I would talk on calls would be so much different partner to partner. Sometimes it was like, "Hey, we're getting a lot of fraud. What's going on here? Like, we need to fix whatever you guys are doing." And then other times be like, "How's your family? How are the kids?" And it was just like a completely different scenario. So I learned a lot of trial by fire, a lot of like how to identify the right partners to work with and who might not be the right partner to work with, and how to kind of test into that from that role. And then from there, I moved on, managed a B2B program. And then from there, I managed QVC's affiliate program. And that was like opening a whole new world for
Oh my
me
goodness,
because,
yeah.
yeah, it was a huge program. They had millions and millions of SKUs, got to really start working in like the influencer space and like more fun content type stuff. And of course, coupon and deal was like a really big piece of, that program at the time. But then I got recruited to a company called Swift Financial and I launched their B2B lending program. So that was my first foray into the affiliate financial world. And then PayPal acquired them. And after a couple of years there, I became the global head of affiliate marketing at PayPal. So representing all of their user acquisition strategies through the channel across their brands and regions, which was quite an undertaking because PayPal grew so much by acquisition. We had 4 different platforms that we were paying for. There were a lot of people that like one tiny part of their job was affiliate marketing. So there was really like no centralized focus there. But so I grew that program out and then decided to leave and do my own thing.
I love that. Tell me about that transition into doing your own thing and kind of like the timing in your life around that, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so again, a little bit of a wild ride. So I was on maternity leave from PayPal with my first daughter, and that time it was 2023 in the tech world. There were a lot of layoffs going on, and so a couple of my colleagues were moving on or were let go of PayPal, and they were finding themselves at other financial institutions because of their background. And I actually got a call from a former mentor, and she said, "Hey, they're trying to do affiliate marketing here. They don't really know what they're doing. Do you know anybody who could help?" And I had my phone in one hand and my 6 week old in the other hand, and I was like, I could do it. And then I cried, for a
Of
week. So I was
course.
like, what are you doing? I'm wasting my maternity leave. But I had a lot of fun with it, and they're actually still a client to this day. We've expanded their program so much, but it was fun working for a faster moving startup than a giant company like PayPal, and being able to enact change quickly and make an impact quickly. And so I returned from maternity leave and was still kind of just doing this on the side. And then I got a phone call from a CMO at a large financial institution, and story, yeah, was asking about affiliate marketing, and he agreed to hire my business. They're also still a client to this day, and decided to just all right, we got to cut ties now, and we're going to go off on our own. Cut ties. 3 weeks into full time in this business, learned that baby number two was on her way.
Oh my God. No
So that
stress.
was,
No
yeah,
stress there.
no stress at all. So, but it was actually probably a good thing, because I know so many founders that have a really hard time making that leap from, you know, being a team of one to having a team. But I didn't really have a choice, right? Like, I can't have a baby and also dedicate the same amount of time to my clients. Like, it's just not
It's not
possible.
possible.
Yeah. And so, I focused on building out a team, and I got really lucky with some of our hires, and we've been off to the races. And, it's been really great to see just my network coming into things and helping out and providing referrals. And we've been growing ever since.
I love that. I made the leap from the affiliate side, from the publisher side, over to agency side right after I had had my kid. And literally, well, it was a really interesting circumstance because the owner of the blog that I was editorial and accounts manager for, the owner of the blog, 1 week into my maternity leave, came to me and she's like, I want to position the blog to sell. And I was like in the middle of a campaign with Cricket, and I was like, all of these things. And so similar, like, what maternity leave? Hardly know her. Like, I think I had like 3 days, right? And I was joking with some people at Affiliate Summit last week because I've only missed one Affiliate Summit West out of the last 13 years. And that was the year after I had my kid. So he
Yep.
was like 4 months old, maybe 5 months old. But that was also the one where I won the Advocate of the Year Pinnacle Award.
You do? Of course.
Of
Of course.
course.
You don't even get the glory.
I don't even get the glory. And I remember Karen Garcia and a couple of others messaged me on Facebook, because this was when I was like using Facebook primarily as a means of
Yeah.
communication. They messaged me like, you won. And I'm like, I'm sitting there. I have a picture on my phone somewhere, but I'm sitting there with my kid, like 4 months old. And I'm like, what? Like, but making those big business decisions, making those big shifts right on the heels of like the most life altering thing that's ever going to happen to you is crazy pants, but it's also so affirming when it works out. I mean, that like I made the jump to the agency side to be able to better support my family, better support my kid, have some more stability because, full-time role versus being a publisher, a blogger, especially at the
Yeah.
time, was volatile. But yeah, it's kind of wild how those things come into motion. How has it been, especially, as a female, as a mom, and as a founder, and a head of an industry? What are some of the things that you've had to figure out on like how to balance it all and make it work?
Yeah. So still figuring some of that out.
It's always a work in progress.
Yes, it's always a work in progress. No, it's been a lot. I mean, especially after the birth of my second child, I like to joke. if you've ever seen that movie Old School,
Yeah.
where Will Ferrell is at like the debate stand,
Yeah.
right? And I actually 3 weeks postpartum had a client pitch call that I needed to join, and it was like that scene
Yeah.
in Old School where I had another person on my team on the call, and I like blacked out what I said because I was like so crazy mom brain at the
Yep.
time. Landed the client, which was great,
Of course.
but yeah, it was like one of those moments. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is like I can't do it all by myself, and there are other people that know better sometimes. So hiring smart, right? Making sure that you have the right people in place, like making sure that like we're with the right clients, because sometimes it's not always a good client fit either, and that can kill team morale. I really lean on my network. And one thing that we did last year that was like a big deal as a new business owner was we set up benefits plans, 401k, medical, dental, vision, mental health benefits, all that stuff. I had no idea where to start, but we had somebody in our network who was like a chief HR officer at a job before and started her own consulting thing. So we partnered with her. She helped us get all that kind of stuff set up. So like really leveraging the people in our network to help with that. And then again, it's all about like partnerships, and I've tried to always manage my relationships appropriately, I should say, like always treat people right. And that's kind of come back to me. And like even at this last ASW, we're an agency, so our goal is to obviously grow our revenue as we're helping our clients. But we often help out by making introductions and helping to manage projects that we're not going to receive any income on. And I shared that with one of our partners that's like was pushing really, really hard on something. We're like, hey, we're not making any money off this. We're just going to help you get it done. And they were like, oh, great. Well, you have a smaller client that you've been trying to get some placements for, right? We'll help you out there. So that's been kind of cool too. Like I feel like this industry really leans itself into stuff like that, where it's not always like, well, what can you do for me? It's more like, hey, I'm going to do you a favor, and then people just automatically are like, okay, well, I'll look out for you too.
Yeah, 100%. I've recently kind of come across that with I have two brands in like a very similar vertical, and one is a much larger brand and the other is smaller, but they're kind of sister brands. And
Yeah.
because I have this bigger brand that obviously like lends so much to publisher successes and all of that, they have high search volume, they have high AOVs, like they're just overall a successful brand because I was able to kind of finesse a partnership with that brand with a partner. They're like, oh, we'll take care of the smaller brand too. We'll just go ahead and include that. And I'm like, yeah, that's a win.
I know. I feel like this is where my music industry days play in because I used to work for a booking agency, and like, the Adele's booking agent also has all of these smaller
Yeah.
acts that they're trying to bring up, so they leverage Adele to get the other bands, within that promoter's org. So it's like somewhat related. I like to say I didn't completely waste my degree, but
It's all tangentially related. Yeah. I mean, I went to school for journalism. And so I'm like, I mean, I write a lot of pitches. I
yeah,
still use my journalism degree to some
yes.
level.
You were helping to manage a blog, right?
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
plays into it.
It got in there. So one of the things when I asked you to fill out the onboarding form, you mentioned my nemesis. No, I'm kidding. He's not my
Yeah.
nemesis. He's like my best friend, but it's more fun to think of him as a nemesis. You mentioned my nemesis, Nick, who I'm going to blow his cover right now, but Nick is absolutely a feminist in so many different rights. He would hate me for saying it. Sorry, cover blown, bud. But you mentioned him, especially in the context of you, having a brand new baby and taking on these. Tell me that story, just because I want to blast him.
All right. Well, and I will also say, like, he was being a huge support, right, during this conversation. But we had both started an agency around the same time, also targeting like a very similar vertical. And we were meeting each other for the first time, and we were kind of talking about like, well, what are some of your challenges and all that? And I was like, well, I'm pregnant. And I was like, I have to figure out what I'm going to do when the baby comes. And this was when I did not have a team. And he was like, wow, like, don't take any offense to this, but I'm so glad I don't have to think about that. And because a lot of our male counterparts don't
They
have
don't.
to think about
Yeah.
that, even though there are a lot of like very involved parents and things like that, it's not the same as like
It's
physical.
different. There's a lot more healing that has to happen over here.
Yeah, and it's so funny because it wasn't just him that responded that way. I was in a couple of like solopreneur where like it was a bunch of folks that were a team of one that were trying to figure out business problems, and that was like the biggest challenge on my mind of like, what am I going to do during this time? And everybody, women included, were like, I don't know. But turns out, getting the right people in place and establishing trust. Like I remember on my way out, I had a meeting with the team because at that time we had built a team, and I was just kind of going through the list, and at one point one of them stopped me and was just like, Jessica, we got this. Like, it's okay. We got this. And I almost cried. I don't know if it was pregnancy hormones or gratitude or whatever. It was a mixture, I'm sure. But yeah, I really just had to learn to let go. And as a new founder, that was really hard. I will say I had to go into the hospital earlier than expected. So I was doing some out of office dogs bed. But besides from that, I really was able to unplug just by leaning on the team. And, I'm forever grateful for them for that moment in time.
That's building a team is really hard. It's something that I have discovered over the last couple of years, and Spark Partnerships is relatively a baby still, right? We just celebrated year 3, like literally at Affiliate Summit West, just celebrated year 3. And I'm still very much in the kind of learning and growth pain stage. But one of the greatest things that I have been able to experience is that I've had a couple of people who I've previously worked with at roles who have come to me and been like, how can I support you? How can I help you? And, these women are mothers. These women have been my village in different, kind of scenarios, and them coming back. Like, that was one of those moments of absolute gratitude that I had where I was like, you want to come help me? Like, you could go get a full-time job making 6 figs with like all of the bennies and all of that, but you want to come to here and like, have my back. That's amazing. And I think it's, even though they've, have had to move on to other roles, one of them just got hired by JEB Commerce, and like I'm partially heartbroken because I love her so much, but I'm so, so, so proud of her. And I've seen like she has a daughter who's 6 months younger than my son is, and she's had 2 other children since she's had her 8-year-old or 9-year-old. And so I've been able to watch her grow in motherhood, but also in her kind of affiliate marketing career, and the fact that she got offered this role. And I love Jake. I think he's wonderful. I'm so proud of her, and I can't wait to see her shine. But it's like she gets to build that team now too. And I'm like, I love that.
That's a sign of a good manager, though, right? Like, I mean, yes, of course, it's heartbreaking when people leave, but to see them thrive, right? Like that
It's
at the end
so
of the day.
fun. Yeah. That's the satisfying part. And I think that, it kind of comes back to the relationships aspect of it, right? I think some of the more successful entrepreneurs, some of the more successful agencies I've seen have been the ones who have been supportive regardless of their relationship with people, whether it's like people stay at that agency forever and, grow within that agency, or they continue to receive support even once they've moved on, whether it's to another part of the industry or to another agency. I think some of the most successful people in this industry have thrived because they've always had those backings of people, regardless of their relationship with them. And I think that that's really important. Like, that's all part of the industry part, because how many people have we seen go from like network to agency to publisher or whatever, and you're constantly kind of having relationships with those people, but they change, like they iterate, just like the industry iterates, and if you only support people in one capacity of their being, but you don't support them in others, then like, are you really supporting them, or are you doing it for yourself?
Yeah, 100%. And it's crazy how much, like, when you reach a career of, 10, 15 years plus, like all of those micro like interactions, they compound big time. And I will say, like, for better or for worse, right? Like you either get a good reputation or a bad reputation behind you. And like for me, it was funny. There were a couple people when I was at PayPal. I backfilled from my maternity leave. One person that I hired there went off and did his own thing, and I actually became a client of his for the reporting platform that he built. Another one that I interviewed that I ended up not hiring, she did some side work for us to help with recruiting publishers. Like it was, it's all of these like small interactions where you like hang on to people. You had a good impression. It just like maybe at the time it didn't work out. It's going to come into play. Like I always get really nervous interviewing people in this industry because you're going to see them again, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, there were a couple of really strong candidates for the last role. And I made sure, like, even if the ones that we didn't move forward with, it's like, hey, we decided to go with a different candidate, but here are some really good resources for you, right? Like, we'd love to stay in touch. Like, we're a growing team. Maybe there's an opportunity down the line just because, you can't hire everybody at once, but you don't want to leave anybody hanging in the lurch.
And I think that is one of the ways that really propels this industry forward too. The people who gatekeep don't make as much headway, don't grow as much as the people who are very open and honest and sharing, and that's been one of those lessons that I've learned over the years, is that like if you keep everything to yourself, you're not really helping anybody, including yourself. But if you're open, like whether it's with relationships and making introductions, or, just like keeping in touch with people, or or providing resources, whatever, the more you do that, the more it comes back. I mean, like it's karma, right? At the end of the day, it's totally karma.
Describing karma here? Is that what yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, and I see that not just, kind of within my circle of friends who like, I mean, we share everything with each other, but on a larger scale, the people who put themselves out there to help, like Trisha Meyer is a perfect example of somebody.
Yeah.
And I will bring up.
You just won the award too.
Yes. Yeah. So I was just going to say, like, Trisha is like, I will bring up the PMA and Trisha at any given point that I can. I mean, threaten me with a good time, right? Yeah. But she's somebody who always puts herself out there to be helpful, to be kind, to be a village, in and of herself, to be educational. And, it might have taken years. God knows she was like the Susan Lucci for years of, Affiliate Summit Awards, but she just got her Pinnacle Award. And my God, if there are a few more people deserving of that. And like, she really is like, she's such a stalwart of the industry. She's done so much good, whether it's fighting for, the Nexus taxes or against the Nexus taxes, to really holding up the Performance Marketing Association and pushing it forward despite the ups and downs that have happened over the years. Like she's a queen and she deserves all her flowers. And I'm really glad that came back around for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually at that award ceremony, not a winner, but honored to be nominated. But I had met her a little while ago, and then the PMA put out a white paper, and it was talking about some of like the fastest growing verticals in the affiliate space, and finance was one of them. And so like her and I had been talking about doing a webinar on the finance space, and we don't know each other well, and like she certainly doesn't owe me anything, but I was like, hey, I would love to help put this together. And I brought that up at ASE, and then I ran into her at ASW, and she was like, yes, I still want to do this. And then the very next day she's like, I got all our panelists, and she's like, we're doing it in April. And she, I was like, that's amazing, awesome. I love it. So she's a really good connector too,
She's a really good connector. She's a really fun person to brainstorm with too. I volunteered at the PMA booth at ASW, and literally it was just like us sitting down and like brainstorming on like different, because I was on the fundraising committee for when I was on the board last year or the last 2 years. And so like my brain is still, thinking of like, how can I help the board?
Right.
And we came up with a really great idea that hopefully we'll be able to enact at the next ASW. But she's such a good person to bounce things off of. She is also like, she knows where all the bodies are buried. She is the keeper of secrets, like all of those things. I've never had somebody like her where I could just be like, and she's like, no, I know.
That means I need to buy her more drinks and learn spots,
Trisha is good for all of those things, and then also advice on Disney.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, shout out to the PMA too. Anybody who's not a member should become a member because it just the affiliate summit discounts alone make it work.
Alone. Yeah, it's plus you get to hang out with people like me.
Yeah.
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 No, I mean, this is my first year in 6 years that I'm not on the board, and so it's very weird for me. Like I feel like I'm in that weird liminal space between Christmas and New Year's, but like
Yeah.
with my entire life. You
Oh
know?
no. You're just like on the outside looking in.
So speaking of ASW, let's shift gears a little bit. There was some big announcements made at ASW, and in particular pertaining to your former employer. So we know that PayPal acquired Honey a number of years ago. We know that coupons and extensions and toolbars have always been a hot topic in affiliate marketing. I mean, name a time when they weren't. This has reached kind of a new level. Obviously, the first day of Affiliate Summit, Rakuten put out the statement that they were suspending Honey not only from their marketplace, but kind of overall. And then that was quickly followed suit by Impact made a statement that they were suspending Honey from the marketplace while they were conducting more of their internal investigations. Partnerize and AWIN have followed up with the fact that they're doing internal investigations. And so, we're finally, for the first time, actually seeing a very consistent level of action and fallout, which is, in my recollection, unprecedented in the industry. We've never ever seen networks take a hardcore stance, which I also think I have many thoughts. I have so many thoughts. It's really interesting, but a lot of the larger nuance is that Honey was deceptive in their practices by hiding, kind of how they were coming to the conversions by, doing a lot of workarounds that were outside of terms and conditions, which, that's the Bible by which, affiliate marketers, managers, whomever kind of operates. But I would love your take, your insights on this, especially having a little bit more in-depth actual experience at one of the companies in question.
Yeah, so I will preface by saying I was not on that side of the affiliate world there. So I was more on the user acquisition side. But yeah, I mean, it was a big announcement. Honey's really being called out because of the videos that were released by Metalag, right? And they went really, really in depth into Honey. And I want to be careful here that I don't make too many enemies, but I feel like there's a little bit of hypocrisy going on, right? Like there are definitely other folks to take a look at, right? At one point, a former colleague of mine had actually started their own extension, not for coupon or deal. They actually started it for it's for when you buy clothes and you want to like resell it down the line. Like it'll tell you what they would buy those clothes back for, and you could put them into the marketplace, kind of like the Real Realer.
Oh, that's smart. That's really cool. Yeah.
Really browser extension, but they were having a hard time getting any traction because they were applying the stand down principles and they were being beat out every single time by every other extension that's in the marketplace. So I always knew that this was going on. I mean, even when that acquisition was announced back in 2017 or something like that, 2018, it was always a little bit of a head scratcher for me because even back then there was a lot of question about the value of the users coming through some of these partners. I work in the finance space, right? So we don't offer too many coupons on like lending products, right? Or on like credit building products. Like you don't really have those types of coupons. Now I will say we do work with them with some folks. We consider it more of like a defense strategy, particularly when we're talking about like large brand names and their competitors are in this space. So sometimes we'll have them present. There are always rules in place, right? There's always some situational commissioning that's in place. They do not have the top performing offer, right? If we do anything extra with them, it's because we're getting at it with additional marketing, right? Like we have a really big push around a particular holiday that makes sense for that brand, then sure, we'll give them some extra money to do like an email push or like some kind of promotional push or something along those lines. But I actually do my own little LinkedIn post on this because again, it doesn't really affect us that much, but a really good example of what we've seen in some of our programs. A really large brand that we manage, when we came in to take over their program, 70% of their commissions went to coupon deal loyalty. So it was a huge part of the program.
Yeah.
And now 2% of their commissions go to those partners. There is a time and a place for it, but when you look at the LTV metrics over the time period when 70% of the commissions were going there, the repeat customer metric was half that of all other channels. Fast forward to today, the repeat customers on par or better than any of the other channels that they're spending money on, including organic. So, there's obviously a quality concern, right? There's of course the attribution concern, right? Like if we're going to be evangelizing affiliate as a channel to help combat LLMs and, a lot of the searches that are happening outside of the SERPs, then we need to give credit to the partners that are helping to drive that, right? And not just giving credit to that last click coupon that's like kind of swooping in at the last moment. So attribution is a big part of it too. So I do feel for my colleagues in the retail space and the e-com space because I know that it has a bigger impact on their programs. I'm lucky that I don't live in that world. My QVC days. But I mean, if anything, it's just kind of helped to increase those costs for our content partners. Because they weren't getting the credit that was due. Like I'll go talk to some large content partners and just to get featured on their articles now with the challenge that they've had from attribution in the past and the challenge that they now have from LLMs, $75,000 to get a placement on the site, right? I got quoted $175K for an email from one of the content. I was like, thank you. It's just driving up everybody else's cost and it's not providing the quality for the brand. Now, I of course always think with the client in mind.
Yeah.
I am also a consumer, so I want to get the best deal, and I do see that there is a consumer value there, but it all needs to like play into the larger ecosystem appropriately.
I agree with that. And I think that, one of the things is that like, and you touched on this a little bit, there is a place for bottom of funnel partners, right? I oftentimes, especially client facing, I like to refer to them as foundational partners because oftentimes they're the ones that you want to get into the program first so that they drive those early optics so that the program looks sexy for other publishers. Like that's kind of part of the strategy, right? Is that like they onboard quickly, they start driving results relatively quickly. Obviously, depending on the program, obviously depending on the vertical, it's never one size fits all, but there is a time and a place if you do the strategy right and if you do the commission structure right and if you do the attribution structure. But this is also another place where, rather than completely cutting off a partner at the knees in this situation, where networks can do a little bit more diligence on their attribution and on their commission payout structure.
Yeah.
And listen, I know everybody has a share a sale hangover. I'm fully aware of that. I also have a share a sale hangover because there was so much I loved about the platform. There was so much I loved about the flexibility in how you can work with partners and having those leapfrog commissions, being able to split commissions between this partner and this partner. That is something I think a lot of platforms are missing. I think that platform, that particular piece is so integral to the success of so many affiliate programs and really relying on like, these are our preferred partners versus like, these are our non-preferred partners. Like, yes, that's great. That's fabulous. But then we're not crediting everybody who really took part in the sale, in the conversion, and helping to build that piece of it. It also gives us so much greater data into how consumers behave, and you and I, Jessica, we're kind of in the like target audience of the majority of brands out there, right? Like we're the moms, we're, the business owners, we're probably the decision makers in the house, we're the shoppers. I know that, I often fall into that category of being kind of the target audience because I shop on TikTok Shop. I shop on Amazon. Right. I've used Honey in the past because I like cash back and rewards. Like,
I don't want to pay full price.
No, God, ew. Yeah. Gross. I want that free shipping. marketing. But those all of those pieces play into it. And I think one of the biggest disservices that networks in particular have done is not having more flexibility as far as being able to credit different partners. And that's something that I would love to see standardized more across the industry, so that these conversations evolve from, no, we absolutely can't work with them, to, you know what, there's room for everybody. It's a matter of how you work with them.
No,
And
I think that's a really good point. And I have seen, sorry to cut you off,
no, you're fine.
but I have seen a lot of the backlash being like, see, told you, like they should be gone. And I've kind of played into a little bit of that ourselves, but when it comes down to the networks, well, first there's a little bit of hypocrisy of like maybe the first network that kicked them out. But
A little bit of
um,
conflict of interest, but
maybe a little bit. That's okay. But they are getting targeted right now. They are not the only player that operates this way. Maybe the way that they're firing their extension, maybe like that logic needs to change. Sure. But
Mhm.
I think I agree. Like why are we cutting some players off at the knees instead of fixing the system to consider everybody? I
Right.
mean, that would make my life a lot easier when I'm trying to negotiate commissions with content publishers that aren't getting the clicks that they used to get, or not getting the attribution. So I think that, attribution for marketing as a whole is really difficult, but this is one channel that we could, if we really put our mind to it, like we could have better attribution modeling from a
Yeah.
partner basis. Like we're always going to struggle against other channels, but at least in our own house, like let's fix our own house
Yeah.
first.
100%. And I mean, it's one of those kind of situations for me too, where it's like, yeah, I mean, there might be some shady shit going on for sure, but it's also like, are they driving conversions? Okay, so consumers are utilizing that channel. They're utilizing that method. Don't we want that? Like, don't we
Yeah.
want to take
Yeah.
advantage of that? I mean, obviously, we don't want to have to pay any additional, but
Yeah.
that's where commission rules come into place. That's where stand down rules come into place, and I think that there is room for a lot of improvement so that we can be more inclusive of different partner types, as long as they're following the rules, like be a rule follower for sure, but also, let's open it up, because this industry will die if we don't continue to innovate, period. And I mean, everybody's been saying that for years. Uh, like
Well,
literally.
affiliate marketing's been dead since like 2008. So
Yeah. Right. How many times have we buried it?
it's always email and SEO and everything else.
I
So
mean, the only thing that's dead is like old language, and that's kind of the other thing, is like, we just make it confusing by introducing new language for the same things, like,
that's so funny because I literally had a call this morning with somebody from one of the platforms and he was just using slightly different terminology and then I was using slightly different terminology. So like maybe 5 times during the call, we had to be like, when you say this, you mean this, right? Like, like
like,
I,
can we innovate on technology instead of
I,
innovating on language? That would
I
be
know.
great. Thank you.
It's
Let's keep
so
the
funny.
language.
I think the best example was that we manage a number of apps, and so we're a user acquisition shop, but we help manage like the publisher revenues as
Yeah.
well for some of our app partners, and we call them marketplaces because there's always been a little bit of a negative connotation with the word offer wall,
Yeah.
and so he was saying offer wall, I was saying marketplaces. He's like, "What are you talking about?" But it's a non-incentivized offer wall.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an offer wall, but it's not like the old offer walls,
Right. It's like the new offer walls. It's the
Yeah.
cool mom of offer walls.
Right. I'm trying to make marketplace happen. That's what I'm saying.
Oh man. Okay, let's get to some fun topics. What is your favorite thing to do when you're going to a conference and you have just a moment of downtime? What are you doing? Are you booking a restaurant? Are you going to a museum? Like, what is your favorite, like, okay, this is on my list. It's top 3 things that I have to do.
I feel like whenever I go to a conference, since we work in the affiliate world, right? Like it's all about meeting up with as many people as possible. I'm definitely, are we talking about like from a work standpoint or for a fun thing to
You know
do?
what? Both. Give me both.
So, I mean, I'm a restaurant girly. Like,
Same.
I love a tasting menu. Give me a 9-course meal somewhere with like a wine pairing. I'm
Yes.
all about that. I'm all
Yeah.
about that. but I'm also like a big nerd. So when we try to we've done a team offsite before. We've got a plan to do them like annually. I love me an escape room. I know that's so nerdy.
No, I love it.
Rooms, and it's also like timed fun, right?
Yeah.
So there's like an endpoint on there if it's like if forced fun is not everybody's bag. Like, but I do love a good escape room.
I kind of love forced fun. Like I'll grumble about it, but then I'm like, yay. Like I honestly like I love an icebreaker. I love like silly trivia things. You know, like
Yeah.
the PMA for our holiday happy hour, we did trivia. Man, I will get into some trivia.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild. But yeah, I've never done an escape room and it's on my list of things to do.
It's so fun.
I too am a restaurant girly. Like I will any city I go to, I'm like, okay, what are like the top 5 restaurants? What can I get a reservation to? You know, like what's highly
Big
recommended?
love
What is
girl.
TikTok
Yeah.
saying I absolutely have to go to? That's definitely like I love it. Or like a really cool speakeasy or whiskey bar.
Oh, where the cocktail menu is like
Oh.
on. Yes. Yes.
Hmm. One of my favorite people to go cocktail exploring with is Wade Tonkin from Fanatics because
Okay.
he's a bourbon guy and I'm a bourbon girl, but he has almost every single time hit the nail on the head with finding a really good cocktail bar. And like we've been in like Palm Springs, Vegas, you know, Miami, a few different
Yes.
places, and that's one of my all-time favorites. And Nick is one of my favorite people to restaurant with because he and I are bougie when it comes to food. We're also like sourdough buddies at this point. He sent me
Oh,
his
nice.
sourdough starter, and so like yeah. But yeah, that's definitely that's my jam as well. What is your hype music?
My hype music. Oh, that's a good one. Well, I feel like this is kind of a lame cop out, but literally my life is like Disney movies right now because
No.
I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So I have like the Frozen soundtrack on repeat. I have like the Moana soundtrack on repeat.
Yeah.
Not my hype music, but I don't know. I'll get into some like I still like Lizzo. Like I know that's probably controversial, but like
She's good
Lizzo.
as hell. Like,
Yeah. I know you're a Swift fan, so
mhm.
and my daughter loves Taylor Swift. I was cooking and she was just walking around the kitchen island and it was a Cruel Summer was
Mhm.
on and she made me play that on repeat. Like every time it went to the next song, she was just like in her feels.
I love
It was
it.
so I don't know if that
My
counts as my hype song, but
my child would not fall asleep for about 2.5 years unless we put Moana on.
oh,
So, and like there was a point, if we got to You're Welcome, you know, the song that Maui sings, if we
oh, we
got to
know.
that point and he wasn't asleep, sleep was not happening.
No.
And that was my gauge by which like, you know, I mean
How
my
the night's gonna go.
yeah, it's so funny. One of my clients right now is Huckleberry, which is a sleep training app. If I had had that 10 years ago, I feel like my life would be so completely different. I would have slept for 3 years, which would have been really, really lovely because I feel like I'm still catching up on it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I have the first half of Moana like burned into my
Mhm.
brain. And thank
Mhm.
God it's such a good movie. Like,
Yeah, I know.
thank goodness Disney puts out such quality because like, oh my God. Yeah,
Watch them
it's
on repeat. We watched that and the Monsters Universities movie, and
you love.
she loves it, and she has a Mike Wazowski costume that she insists on wearing every time we watch the movie.
I love it.
She'll just be there with her big belly and her little head.
It's so
So
perfect. Have they gotten into K-pop demon hunters at all?
So she tried watching it. She thought it was a little scary,
Okay.
but the music, we're big fans
Oh yeah.
of. Music.
My
Yeah.
kid and I have a dance party to school almost every morning listening to K-pop demon hunters.
Oh my
And he
God.
was one of the Saja boys for Halloween. So
Oh, that's amazing.
he
That is,
in particular was Abby because he has a really great like pineapple Hawaiian shirt and I ordered him a yellow beanie and I had some like cherry red hair dye that I was like, yeah, whatever, we can dye our hair.
yeah.
It's hair, it grows back. And then I got him like a flesh colored t-shirt to put under his Hawaiian shirt and I drew abs on. It was so
I
good.
like
I was
that.
so proud. Okay. Wow, my brain really just broke. What is coming up for you? Where can people find you?
So we are still continuing our journey on the finance train. So we're partnering with a lot of brands in the finance space. We have a couple ones that will be coming up that we'll certainly be sharing on LinkedIn. I think the next show that we're going to potentially MAU, we'll have to decide, but we'll certainly be at Affiliate Summit East. We have some time before that. And we have a couple of products that we're launching this year to help with being a better connector between some of our apps and
Right.
advertisers,
Yeah.
and to help with some of the reporting that has been going on too on the publisher side of the
Mhm.
house. So all of that is to come.
Amazing. And what advice would you give to any women who are looking to get into affiliate marketing, looking to grow themselves in this industry? What words of wisdom can you impart?
Well, I would say, I mean, we talked about it a lot here, but like this is a relationship-based industry, right? So I think that by being in the room, it's really important. Make sure that you're just, present in this space, that you're keeping up with your relationships, that you're reaching out to try to make new relationships, not with an AI sales cold pitch, please, but like like real human connections. That's the one thing that I think, no industry is AI proof, but it's really hard to, replace the human touch of a partnership based channel like affiliate marketing. So continue like showing up, creating and nurturing those partnerships. And then, one thing that I say to just like women in general that like clearly I'm an example, it's like the timing cannot seem right on paper, but when you have the opportunity, take it and you'll figure it out. Just
Yeah.
take it when it comes.
One of my colleagues always says, trust your gut because she's rarely ever wrong. And I feel like, especially when you're about to make one of those very scary leaps, if your gut is
Yeah.
telling you to do it, and I know that I had this with Spark Partnerships, my gut was saying it's time, like do it,
Yeah.
and that was the resounding feedback that I got. And I think that, especially as women, not saying that men don't have decent intuition, but, women's are better, take that to heart. Your body and your brain know what you need, your heart knows what you need, so follow it. But yeah,
Yeah.
and then don't forget that you have a village too. I know
100%.
myself, I'm sure you, there's so many people
100%.
who all they want to do is help and help others succeed. So
Yes. And the one thing I will say about that too, just like in terms of, if you are going to go out and do your own thing, the worst thing that can happen is you have to go get another job.
yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, it's not that bad, right? Like,
Yep.
if it doesn't work out, then you just get another job.
And maybe it just didn't work out this time. Maybe it'll work out next
Right.
time.
Right.
Sometimes things happen. I know that this year has been, or this past year has been particularly volatile for a lot of brands, a lot of agencies, all of that. And sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. And you have to be willing to be, flexible and then just get up, dust yourself off and try again. There's no shame.
And comparison is the thief of joy. Sorry, I have like so
Yes.
many reminders because I do go on LinkedIn and I'm like, why aren't we doing $10 billion in sales? And most people just don't compare yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like,
It's no fun. Well, Jessica, thank you so, so much for joining me this week. I am so excited that we got to chat. This was a really lovely conversation. And best of luck with AMP. I can't wait to see everything that you continue to do.
yeah. Same with Spark Partnerships.
Thank you. Join us next week, everybody. And don't forget to hit follow and subscribe. And Jessica, thank you again for being such an amazing guest. Appreciate you.